والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله الطاهرين الطيبين وعلى أصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا نحن نزلنا الذكر وإنا له لحافظون ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر فهل من مدكر ومن أعرض عن ذكري فإن له معيشة ضنكا ونحشره يوم القيامة أعمى قال رب لم حشرتني أعمى وقد كنت بصيرا قال كذلك أتتك آياتنا فنسيتها وكذلك اليوم تنسى صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, by the grace and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we have assembled and gathered here today after the salah to congratulate a fellow pupil, a fellow child, a fellow Muslim and his family and his parents upon the completion of the Quran hifz, takbir. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. First and foremost, it's very important for us to acknowledge the importance of this occasion. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed this ummah with the greatest gift, which is the Quran. The Quran is the book of guidance that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent for the entire mankind right until the day of judgment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has kept within the Quran guidance, a manual, and a remembrance, and a spiritual resource for Muslims and for human beings alike throughout the world right until the day of judgment. It is the chosen book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is his actual speech to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Previous to the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent scriptures to mankind, such as the Tawrah, the Zabur, and the Injil. However, the preservation of those books were not taken care of properly. There were distortions in those books, there were misinterpretations and misunderstandings amongst the previous ummah. With the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took it upon himself to preserve this book. And the method Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose to preserve this great book, the Quran, is through the Kuffar and through the Hafiz al-Quran. Alhamdulillah, in front of our very eyes today is one of those Hafiz, a young child, like many children around the world, who have this shauq, this zeal, this endeavor, this commitment, this ambition and goal to learn the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to preserve the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to protect the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We congratulate this child, we congratulate his parents, we congratulate his teacher, and to the institute that has allowed and facilitated for this program to take place. The fada'il and virtues of the one who has memorized the Quran are many. In the hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, in hadith of Abu Dawood, that the parents of the child who becomes Hafiz al-Quran will be crowned on the day of judgment with a specific taj, a specific crown which will be shining. And the people will recognize from that crown that this is a father or a mother of a Hafiz al-Quran. Such a fadila. Now, let me ask the father, do you have any Hafiz in your family before? Your forefathers? Your grandfather? Okay. In my family there was no Hafiz before. So my father started this silsila, this chain of Kuffar. Alhamdulillah, after I became Hafiz, there were 2, 3 in the family after that. They saw and then they made their children Hafiz. Now, brother Dr. Shahrukh Qureshi had this zeal, this ambition to make his son Hafiz al-Quran, and his son had the sharp commitment because he finished the hifz in approximately a year and a half. This is commitment, this is effort. Now just before the salah, I heard a few boys saying, I wish I was Khurram. Okay? Just 3 of them, 2 or 3 of them were saying that while I was praying sunnah, and I heard them, overheard them. Why can't they be Khurram? That's my question. Khurram is a human being who made effort, and Allah Ta'ala gave him the fruits of his effort, the reward for his effort. Why can't other children do that? They can do that. Everybody can do that. I see many potential kuffars here. Many potential kuffars. You have to have the zeal, the courage, the ambition, the commitment, as the parents of the Hifz program have. Because we have a Hifz program here with 13 pupils full-time Hifz. and they are fully committed to hifz. They have homeschooling in the afternoon for 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. Other than that, they devote 6.5 to 7 hours hifz daily, and on Saturday, 4 hours. So they have committed themselves, and the parents have had the courage to take them out of public school and devote them to the Quran for a few years so that they can become Hafiz al-Quran. And this takes great courage and commitment from the parents. And if they can do it, others can do it too. We have this magnificent program here, because we've designed this program so that the children can become good Hafiz al-Quran with the quality required to preserve the Quran fully and become the future Imams of this Ummah in our Taraweeh prayers and in our daily prayers. So this is the facility that we are providing here. And I encourage parents that if you have the same ambition, it's not just talk, it's action. You can't just have the ambition, you have to have the will to do it. Everybody has ambition. Everybody thinks, wishes, oh, my child was doing this, I hope my child did this, I wish my child did that. But when everyone can talk the talk, but when it comes to the actual walk, then people back out. And alhamdulillah, we see now in front of our eyes, parents have the desire, and this class begun because of the zeal of few parents. Let us make this very clear. Few parents wanted this class, and they wanted their children to become hafiz. And what better place than the masjid, the institute, this community has. This is the hub of this community, the masjid. So we facilitated for this program, alhamdulillah. And we have a full-time kids program, and we have a part-time program too. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases this activity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes more hafiz. The fadail, like I mentioned, the virtues of becoming hafiz are great and numerous. In the hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the hafiz on their judgment, Ya sahib al-Quran, O companion of the Quran, Iqra, read, warattil, recite beautifully like you did in this world. فَإِنَّ مَنْزِلَكَ عِنْدَ آخِرِ آيَةٍ تَقْرَأُهَا. Your abode will be, and your destination in Jannah will be where you finished your last verse. So the better the Hafiz knows his Quran, without mistakes and error, he will continue climbing the stages of Jannah with each letter, each verse, however Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destines for him. That will be his abode in Jannah. In the hadith, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Inna li sahib al-Quran, Inna fil jannati nahrun ismuhu Rayyan. In Jannah there is a river flowing which is called Rayyan. Alayhi madinatun min marjan. On this river there is a palace made of pearls and rubies and corals. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, Lahu sab'una alfa babin min dhahabin wa fidda lihamil al-Quran. That palace will have 70,000 doors made of gold and silver, and all of this is for the holder of the Quran. This is a great fadilah Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, is mentioning for the Hafiz of the Quran. So these are the fadail, the virtues that should create the ambition and zeal in our hearts to encourage our children to become Hafiz of the Quran. And if they don't finish the Quran, whatever they can complete, whatever they can become Hafiz. And this should be enough encouragement for the parents too, that we learn the Quran as much as we can. We try and protect the verses of the Quran as much as we can. We become holders of the Quran when we're going to our work on a daily basis. Listen to the Quran. You listen to surahs over and over again, you will also memorize those verses. Another fadilah Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions for the person to become Hafiz. He says, Man qara'a al-Qur'ana fastadharahu wa ahalla halalahu wa harrama haramahu shafa'ahu Allahu fi 'asharatin min ahlihi kulluhum qad wajadat lahu an-nar. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, whoever recites the Qur'an and guards it, so he acts upon the Qur'an, he protects it, he practices it. وَأَحَلَّ حَلَالَهُ, recognizes the halal that the Qur'an has made halal and the haram that the Qur'an has made haram, and acts accordingly. Allah will give him the platform to intercede for 10 individuals from his family upon whom Jahannam had become destined. They were destined to go to hell, but Allah will give him the intercession, the platform to intercede on their behalf and ask Allah to forgive them. This is the position Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is entitled to a person who becomes Hafiz al-Quran. But my humble request is that the child who becomes Hafiz al-Quran continues with this commitment